Coming up on this episode of the Average Sports Guys podcast, shout out to the U.S. women's national team for winning back-to-back World Cup titles. Dallas Cowboys, should they pay Zeke or let him walk? And the Giants' sixth-round pick, Kameron Moore, got himself in trouble with his girlfriend. What's up with that? And we're going to do prediction winners of all the divisions, starting with the AFC and the NFC North. All that and more coming up next.
You're listening to the Average Sports Guys podcast with Eddie and Marcus.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Yo.
This is Eddie and Marcus here.
Yeah.
With the Average Sports Guys. This is the Average Sports Guys podcast. We're here for episode 12.
12.
That's right.
Let's go.
All right, so we're just going to get right on into it. Marcus wanted to open the show with
The U.S. women's national soccer team. Let me just start off by saying, over the past few years, you might even call it the past 5 to 10, these women have been dominating soccer for the most part. I'm pretty sure they just won like their fourth World Cup title, if I'm not mistaken.
Three or four. I know it's three for sure.
It's three for sure, but I'm pretty sure they just won their fourth. And it's one of those things where I think that we do need to start giving these women out here they're just due, because they have, like, this past World Cup, they were just a class above everybody else.
Yeah, well, as far as talent.
Yes. So they're just a class above everybody else. I mean, it was just a wonderful, wonderful tournament. Saw some great teams. A huge surprise, though, was Spain. Spain definitely played well. But I just wanted to give some kudos to just certain players on the U.S. women's national team. Megan Rapinoe, dominant force. 6 goals. I'm pretty sure 3 of those were PKs or penalty kicks. She has ice in her veins. She's that leader. You can tell that, she is getting up there in age, but she can still ball with the best of them. And she was abusing defenders the entire tournament. Julie Ertz, her biggest play was that crazy header that she had, like, off the back of her head into the net. And just to mention that Julie Ertz is Zach Ertz's wife.
Right.
And he actually got leave to go and watch her play in the World Cup, which was really awesome.
Yeah, I did see that.
Because she wasn't there for him to, really experience, him getting to the Super Bowl and everything. So I think him actually seeing her win something is a big deal.
Right.
So also Alex Morgan, she had 6 goals total, but she got 5 of those in the first game against Thailand.
Yeah.
That was a huge game. There was nothing you can do to stop her, and then ever since she was getting beat up. But overall, amazing striker. Rose Lavelle, she was the glue, in my opinion, the glue to the whole thing, because she was just dicing stuff up midfield, sending people forward, getting passes off. Carly Lloyd, Kelly O'Hara, Mallory Pugh, Kristen Press, even my favorite player, Tobin Heath. She has the equivalent of what Allen Iverson had in basketball as far as crossovers and handle. She has crazy handle with her feet. Like, there's nothing you can do. She gets in the box, and there's nothing you can do about it. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, it was a great tournament. Hats off to the women of the U.S., and they represented us well. Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. Like I said, despite any of the controversy behind anything with that team,
right?
We will leave that where it is.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's still an accomplishment. I mean, it's our country.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, definitely shout out to them.
And not only that, I think the only other team to go back-to-back I'm pretty sure it was Germany. So, I mean, we're the first team since a soccer superpower like them to actually do it, which is a really big deal.
Right.
So that's awesome.
Yeah.
All
right. So, in football news, we have Kameron Moore.
Yeah.
6th-round pick for the New York Giants.
Mm-hmm.
As many of you may heard or have seen, whether it's on the news, social media, whatever, he got into a scuffle with his girlfriend. And I didn't even find out today until I was listening to the radio this morning.
Yes, sir.
I guess apparently he wasn't answering his girlfriend's call.
No.
Whatever. She showed up at the house. He's walking out of the house with the other girl.
With another John.
Right. And I guess the 2 girls get to scrapping or whatever.
Yeah.
He tries to break it up. His girlfriend, the one who showed up at the house, hit him or something, and he hits her and then steps on her neck or whatever. I don't know.
Straight foot on the neck situation. And it's like, we don't agree with any type of domestic violence or hands on women or anything like
Hell
that.
no.
But at the end of the day, he's going to get what he deserves. He's going to be suspended, possibly more than likely probably going to be cut, like we were talking about before.
Well, yeah, I mean, if the team is smart, I mean, a 6th-round guy, okay. He may be a diamond in the rough where he ends up being a good player, but you're a 6th-round pick. You weren't that high of a grade.
Right.
You're out here acting a fool.
Cut ties.
Yeah, you just let him go.
Absolutely, and that's not to mention all the stuff that he's gonna have to incur legally off the field.
Right.
So it's not worth the headache, and it's just not okay. And in my opinion, it's one of those things where he as a player needs to evaluate, or even as a person, as a human being, needs to really evaluate who he is as an individual, especially somebody who, in my opinion, who's going to lose their opportunity to play in one of the greatest leagues in the world. Yeah, so over something dumb.
Right.
And my last point about it is, why do players continue to put themselves in certain situations where they're screwing up potentially millions upon millions of dollars over foolishness?
Right.
That's crazy.
See, this, I mean, 100% avoidable, right? So
100% avoidable.
I don't want to say normal, but the average person, first of all, okay, you don't cheat, right?
No.
Then that's where you draw the line. So that could have been avoided that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, whether it's this or the guy fighting the cops, was it Malik McDowell?
Yeah.
You know, the guy earlier, it was like one of our first couple episodes. He was from the Jags or something like that. He had gotten himself in trouble.
I can't remember his name.
Was it Fournette?
Was it Fournette? It might have been Fournette. He might have screwed himself up again.
I can't remember what it was, a DUI or something, but it's just like you see it all the time. These players, they'll go out, they go to the club. Somebody's gonna test you, right? You know what I mean? So again, no matter what the issue is, it all comes back to, like you were saying, whether it's security, whether you have drivers, whether you have just people around you that aren't gonna let that other stuff get to you personally.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not them. You know what I mean? Everyone comes from a different walk of life, background.
100%.
I mean, what have you. Me personally, I just stay home. You know what I mean?
Both, bro.
Like we do minimal running around. So again, we can't relate to that. Also, we weren't that star athlete since we were a kid all the way through high school, through college, and then you go into the pros where there's fame and notoriety and everybody thinks you have money. Right. You know what I mean? And I'm just speaking more or less for him as far as 6th-round pick, rookie. You know what I mean? So there's all these different things that are
all these different
factors. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know, but I would think you would, I guess, cherish that opportunity of being in the league.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I mean, it's no different than like you're a teacher, I work a normal like we work normal jobs.
Right.
We're normal people,
but
we're not out doing that type of stuff.
Right. For what?
You know what I mean? Because you're still going to be held accountable potentially at your place of employment.
100%.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's crazy.
It's an age-old question.
Age-old question.
I mean, nobody can answer it. You know what I mean?
Not at all. So.
But yeah, so moving away from that, we'll get into sticking, I guess, within the NFC East, not necessarily by choice, but these are headlines.
Absolutely.
So we'll get into the Dallas Cowboys and whether they should pay Ezekiel Elliott or let him play out his contract and or sit out if that's what I believe that's what he's threatening, right? Is to sit out.
He's to sit out and hold out a camp and then until he gets a new contract, similar to the Melvin Gordon situation.
Right.
Except he's literally top 3 in the league.
Which, like I said, the Le'Veon Bell thing strikes again.
You said that last episode.
But yeah, so I mean, what's your take on it?
So, in my opinion, I think the Cowboys, for a lack of a better way to say it, are pussyfooting around 2 big players that they either have to pay or let go, and that is Dak Prescott or Ezekiel Elliott. Here's my take on the situation. he's the last person. Well, I don't want to say last person, but as far as what makes up the bread and butter of their offense, he's the last person on plan right now because he's always in trouble. Yes, he produces. Yes, he's, if not number one, he's the second best running back in the league. He's not at the forefront of my priority list right now just because of. I think as a GM, if I were to put my Cowboy GM hat on right now, I would probably try to get Dak done first, then Amari, and then Ezekiel Elliott. Why am I saying that? I actually did a little bit of research, and I actually looked up, well, out of the past 5 or 6 Super Bowls, what was the running back situation looking like on each of the teams? I mean, I think 2 or 3 of those were 1, 2, 3 of those were by the Patriots, and then you have my Eagles, the Denver Broncos, and Seattle. And only one of those teams had a true star, like starting running back, and that was Marshawn Lynch. But everybody else had running back by committee.
Right.
And this leads me into my next point. Why pay Zeke all that money? Not only is he a headache, but what if the year you do pay him, he gets injured? You're on the books for that much money, and then who are you giving the ball to? Who's the second guy? Right. So, yes, he puts up great numbers. He puts up pretty much 1,000 or even almost 1,500 almost every year. Yeah, he's great, but there is a cliff. There is going to be a point where it's just going to drop. Where he is carrying the ball about 4 or 5 yards a carry, but at the end of the day, he's a headache. There is a cliff, and is he really that much of a priority? Because most Super Bowl teams, like I said, within the past 5 years, have gone running back by committee. So that's my standpoint.
Yeah. So I pretty much agree with you. Again, nothing to do with the fact that I'm a Skins fan and I hate Dallas, because I'll give them their just due, as I have on previous episodes. But yeah, I mean, number one for me is him staying on the field, and it hasn't been because of injury. It's been because of him being a knucklehead. Right. So while on the field, yeah, I mean, he's always a threat. He always has to be accounted for.
Bro, he's a problem.
Yeah, for sure. So you have to think, okay, he's not going to take a hometown discount, just like they were saying Dak Prescott won't. So now, like you said, and everybody else says, okay, so you have these 2 players. What do? Can you sign both? You know what I mean? Do you let both walk? Or are you picking one or the other? Let's stick with the scenario of them picking one or the other. I would assume they would go with Dak Prescott. While he's not an elite quarterback, he, to me, is above serviceable. Right. He has Amari Cooper. You know what I mean? They have a few other weapons in the basket. Well, they got Jason Witten coming back.
They got Randall Cobb. They have
now again, these are mostly older players past their prime. But again, they're still serviceable. Dak can get them the ball. Like you said, most of these teams in the league, it is running back by committee. Yep. So yeah, I mean, because of the headache, because of the devalue of the position, which, I mean, I love running backs. I love a strong running game, because it does open up and set up so many other plays, so many other options.
Absolutely.
But you can, to me, you're more likely to find a serviceable or above serviceable running back in the draft via trade, however, free agency, versus a quarterback. Right. I mean, just look at Washington.
Oh, absolutely.
So, I mean, from RG3, he had that great year, 2012, electrified the city, the fan base.
Killed it.
Got himself hurt, you know what I mean, but was never the same. When the draft was coming up, I mean, I was one of them. I was living in Virginia at the time. I went and got a personalized license plate with RG3 on it. I'm thinking, this is the guy. Yeah. So, again, there's a lot that goes into the quarterback position. It is the single most important position on the field. Yeah. That, and then look at Alfred Morris, right? When he was with us that year and even the year after. I mean, he was a hell of a running back. His numbers started to tail off. He bounced around, or he went to Dallas. He's been okay. Right. You know what I mean? And, I mean, I don't even know where he's at now. But that's what I'm saying is there are very few elite running backs. But even at that, you're still taking hit after hit after hit. So, I mean, to me, if, like you said, you put the Dallas Cowboys GM hat on, I'm sticking with committing to Dak, assuming he has a similar or better year than he did last year and years prior. If he goes out and just stinks up the joint and is just regressing, and Zeke plays and he doesn't hold out and he actually plays and he does well, I mean, then I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, conventional wisdom would say lock up the quarterback, go forward. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean that's my take on that. But
Right.
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
we've seen Dallas do some crazy things.
Right.
Just like, I mean, we've seen Washington.
Jerry Jones.
Yeah, I mean, Washington's done some crazy things too. You know,
Right.
keep kicking the can down the road with the Kirk Cousins situation. So
Right.
I don't know.
I mean, my last point is that you guys have a decent offensive line right now. So if you're going to cut ties with a running back, I mean, you want to do it while your offensive line is literally top 5. Because you can literally, like you said, put any serviceable guy back there, and you're going to get similar-ish production. Where you're going to get like 3 to maybe 4 yards carry.
Right.
Which
I mean,
is fine.
is the next guy up a home run threat like Zeke? I mean,
No.
he hits the right hole, gets past that second level. I mean, he's gone.
He's gone.
Potentially. Or you're looking at 20, 30, 40-yard gain, and that's the thing. So, but are you okay with, and are you trusting the fact that or can you trust Dak to air it out to Amari Cooper and some of those other deep threats to make up for the lack of gains on plays with Ezekiel Elliott?
Yep.
So, I mean, I don't know. To me, again, I'm paying Cooper.
Yes.
I'm paying Dak.
Yep.
And
you also have people on the other side of the ball you're going to have to pay.
Right.
You know, Van Der Esch, when he comes up, you're going to have to pay him eventually.
Yeah, because he was rookie last year.
Yeah.
So
I mean, he's still got time, but still.
Well, yeah. And he was their first-round pick, so they'd have that fifth-year option.
Had that fifth-year option.
Yeah, they do have time, but again, they're going to be, to me, there's going to be far more important positions coming up sooner, because Zeke's not going to take obviously an extension of 1 year or anything. He's going to want
his money,
because that'll be it as far as this huge contract.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, we're dragging this out a little bit, but it's okay. I think, honestly, you probably get more value by trading him now and packaging him in with, like, some first-round picks or a couple of firsts and maybe, like, a fourth.
Yeah.
And then get more value that way than paying him all this money, and then there's a cliff, and then you're on the hook for that many $1 million. So that's what I would do.
Yeah, for sure. And there's enough teams, to me, in my opinion, that would want a star running back. And not just want, but actually need a great running back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, there's options. But again, there's that. So, well, let's get into and we talked a little bit about this last time we recorded, but we didn't talk about it on air, was the 18-game schedule.
Yes, sir.
So, you know, everybody's been kicking that thought around.
Yes, sir.
And all that. So I'm for it, only because, I mean, if there was a football game every week all year, I'd be fine. But now, obviously, there's a lot that goes into that. There's the NFL Players Association. You know what I mean? They're going to have to agree with that. So there's going to be some language and work around between the league and the owners, and then the NFLPA to make sure the players are on board. So you were talking a little earlier, and I won't take your point, but we'll get to it. And it's a good point. Mine was, well, for those who haven't heard, I've heard a few different stories, but basically an 18-game schedule where they will have the players can only play in a max of 16 games during the regular season. So people would freak out and say, well, you know, heck no. Like, why would I want that? Because now I'm not going to see my star players and this and that, blah, blah, blah. But you have to look at it like this. First of all, injuries will take care of a lot of those players sitting out that game or two, well, 2 games. So there's that. Then it's not like your whole starting defense is not playing or your whole starting offense is not playing for 2 games straight. You have to mix and match.
It's more of management.
Right. And so,
load management.
So with that, I'm fine. You definitely have to increase roster size, game day roster as well, because there's a 53-man roster.
Yes.
And then I think it's like 43 or 46 players dressed for the game.
Yes.
So those numbers would have to increase. I'm for it, especially if you can take 1 or 2 of those preseason games away. Why not? Because, I mean, you go to most of these games, for those that go to preseason games, the concessions, first of all, are full price. Depending on who is playing, I feel like the tickets for a preseason game are pretty damn near close to.
Oh, they're very similar
to like regular season games.
Yes,
so
sir.
I'm like, okay, I'd rather spend that money to go see live action, real play, not, fourth, fifth, and sixth round guys who aren't going to be on the team 2 weeks after that game.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm for it as long as the player's safety and health is number one,
There you
and
go.
they can figure that out.
Mhm.
So, which I'll segue that into what your point was before, we started recording.
Oh yeah. So I'm the only way that I'm for it is if they throw in a second bye week. I think by doing that and extending the season a little bit, I think I would be more likely to actually be on board with the 18-game schedule. Just because I think if you break it down where it's like at least a 4-game gap in between bye weeks and then there's no back-to-back and you structure it that way, I think it would probably be a little bit more palatable to have an 18-game schedule. But like you said, there's also a bunch of other factors that you have to consider. You have to extend the roster. You have to, consider with the fact, is it really, financially beneficial? Are you going to increase the cap? Are you going to pay players more because they're playing an extra game? Is there going to be a cap increase? Well, naturally, if you're bringing in more players, the cap actually has to go up. But
Right,
how much?
which, it traditionally goes up every year
It goes
anyway.
up, yeah. So,
But, yeah, with the increased roster,
Yep.
you would, because you got to pay these extra players,
Yes.
because they scramble around just to, all the magic that their contracts guys do to make sure they're under the cap for the
Right.
players that they have. So,
absolutely. In a hard cap league, you have to make sure you have enough to be able to run that situation. And then also on the flip side, I've listened to podcasts. I've actually listened to news reports of players actually talking about this, and they're pretty much split. But also the ones who want to play or don't mind an 18-game schedule, a lot of them are like, well, if you move me to an 18-game schedule, I don't know if I'm going to want to take a game off because that's me affecting my stats and my bottom line for the remainder of the season. So I don't think that there are going to be too many players that really want to sit out because everybody in the league, in my opinion, is for the most part a natural competitor. It's
Right.
just more of a management piece on the coaching staff as to who plays and how many downs and what your rotations look like at that point.
Right.
Which
and
would
so,
make it actually, in my opinion, a little bit more interesting.
Right. And so you figure, okay, players or teams are playing the soft part, quote
Right.
unquote, soft part of their schedule, so you can give some of those top tier guys
Less reps.
like time off.
Yes.
Hey, you're gonna go ahead and sit this one out. Blah blah blah. To me, I'm more in line with you in the fact of give us 2 bye weeks.
Yep.
Don't have the first bye week for anybody start until after week 4.
Yes.
And then, like you said, and then no one can have a bye week, like once you've had it, it's got to be at least 4 more weeks
Yeah.
until you have it. Again, I'm just spitballing again with all those different teams.
Mm-hmm.
You do have to kind of figure out how all that would work. But, essentially 2 bye weeks would, to me, be fine.
Right.
Because you figure the practices are going to be light.
Mm-hmm.
They have that bye week. They're typically off. So,
It could work.
I think that would work. I think the fans would be more behind that because now they know, okay, unless my player's hurt, my favorite player or, my star players are hurt,
Right.
they're going to play, so I'm more likely to go. I'm more likely to watch. I'm more
Right.
likely, to consume that product. So, I don't know. But, again, with the increased roster size, I think that'd be great because now some of these bubble guys in camp that won't make the team just due to sheer numbers could make the team. And, you might develop some studs who case in point, the Redskins, you have Jonathan Allen. Okay, he's got to figure out how to sit 2 games, or Daron Payne or Matt Ioannidis. But then you have a young Tim Settle coming in. Now, okay, I know he played well in spots last year.
Right.
He was a rookie. So you would think, okay, natural development, he'll do well this year. So now let's just say that was, in place this year.
Right.
I'm comfortable with him playing, fill in those gaps of those 2 games here and there and stuff like that. So if you can have more people on the roster, I think that'd be great. But ultimately, I'm for it because I eat, breathe, and sleep football.
Right.
But I would like to see the 2 bye weeks. versus the players having to sit out for the 2 games.
Absolutely. And then, I really liked your point about the development of players in general. If you have deeper rotations or more rotations of players, like even for instance for my secondary, guys like Maddox, you got Rasul Douglas, all those guys in the backfield, they have time to rotate in to get more experience. I mean, unfortunately, a lot of their experience came last year in the playoffs,
right?
When a lot of guys were hurt. But if you can develop a deeper rotation, I think long term you could develop a better product.
Right,
100%.
And then so some of your star players don't have to play every single down,
right? You
know what I mean? So you have more to rotate through. So
yeah.
I mean, that'll be interesting to see how it moves forward, if and or when it ever comes into place. But yeah,
there you go.
So we did say we are going to talk about each of the divisions for both the AFC and NFC. So we're just going to do our own fun little divisional winners as far as who we predict to win. So this week we're going to start with the AFC and the NFC North. So we'll just give our predictions and just like a quick little reason why.
Right.
So I'll let Marcus go first.
So with the AFC North, I was going to go ahead and take the Cleveland Browns just because how deep that roster is.
Yeah.
They have Odell, they have Landry. Their defense is stout. They have
Baker Mayfield,
Myles Garrett. Their quarterback is Baker Mayfield, who's a gunslinger.
They got some running backs.
They got some running backs. Even though Kareem Hunt, he's kind of screwed right now. But they still have other guys like Nick Chubb, Duke Johnson, guys like that. They're stacked across the board. Their offensive line is still straight. Corners are legit. I think they're going to make some noise this season. I'm actually going to pay attention to one of their games. Well, actually probably more than one, just because I want to see Odell and Baker go off.
Right. Well, and yeah. So again, I'm in agreement with you. I think this is their year to finally win the division, get into the playoffs. It'll be great for their city, obviously,
absolutely.
Because you saw how it was when they put Baker in. He actually did well. I mean, that city, that fan base just went nuts. The whole team rallied behind him. So I think they're definitely a contender to win the division. They just, to me, on offense, they have too many weapons. They, to me, have traditionally had a decent or good defense.
Right.
So
yeah.
So okay. So we're in agreement there. On the AFC. So for the NFC, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take the Bears. Reason being, Mitchell Trubisky. Make your jokes, do what you want.
Right.
Last year I thought he did better. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. He was a game manager.
Yeah, I thought he did well. And, not every – so the thing is, when other quarterbacks dink and dunk down the field or hand the ball off or hit the back on the flat, everybody's like, oh, they're just a game manager, Alex Smith, right? When Tom Brady, he's not hitting home runs every time he's throwing.
He's a textbook game manager and has how many Super Bowl rings?
Right, right. He's moving people around based on what the defense is showing him, and just obviously his tenure in the league, he knows the game in and out. So Trubisky's clearly got a long way from there, and I'm by no means comparing the two. But what I'm saying is, when somebody like a Trubisky or an Alex Smith or hell even Kirk Cousins is labeled as a game manager, it's like
looking at it like a knock when it's really not.
Right. But Tom Brady does basically the same thing
all year.
So no, I'm taking the Bears. Their defense, Khalil Mack. They've got ballers.
Yeah, the defense is stout.
So
yeah, I'm gonna take them as well. I'm in agreement with you. And also I wanted to highlight Allen Robinson and Tariq Cohen. They are the bread and butter of that offense, and they're legit. So yeah, I totally agree. So those are our picks.
Yep, so we will get into more divisional picks next week. That is all the time we have for the show. So, as always, like, subscribe below, leave a comment, let us know what's up. Go to our website, averagesportsguys.com. All the links to our social media is there.
Yep.
And as always, we thank you for tuning in.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time.
We're out.
All right.
Bye.